I'm Joan Epler. Please join with Dr. Gary Epler, Harvard Medical School. Dr. Epler discovered a new way of life. Today, we're going to talk about eliminating stress in your life.
I'm Dr. Gary Epler. The new way of life? It's know who you are moment by moment. This means know where you're thinking from, and that's who you are. There are 4 locations you can think from, and you can only think from one location at a time. The head brain, the heart, the belly brain, and the mind, which is outside the body. Imagine what it feels like to have no stress in your life. No stress in other people's lives, and no stress in the community. It would be a fantastic feeling. Today, we're going to explore how to eliminate stress.
What are the causes of stress?
There are 3. Money, usually spending more than we make. The job, it's a mean boss or annoying coworkers, or it's relationships, family and friends.
What are the health problems from stress?
Stress causes the adrenaline response, which causes increased heart rate and blood pressure. The immune system and digestive system are shut down. Performance and innovation are decreased. Cortisol causes inflammation, resulting in heart attacks, strokes, and cancer. For example, low back pain is from muscle spasm, which is caused by stress. A cold is from a virus, but caused by stress that shuts down the immune system. A heart attack is caused by plaque, closing up the arteries to the heart. But this is caused by inflammation from stress.
What does this new way of life have to do with eliminating stress?
There are 3 unhealthy regions in the brain. They are each independent. You can only think from one at a time. And you need to know that each one of them wants to be in charge of your life 24 hours a day.
Sounds dramatic. What are these 3 brain regions?
The first is the amygdala anger center. You don't want this in charge of your life 24 hours a day. The second is the cingulate. I call that the stress center. And the third is the accumbens addiction center.
Why would our brain have these regions?
The amygdala and cingulate regions are ancient crocodile brains that'll save your life by instinct. These centers are not for anger or stress. Both of these actions have been learned through conditioning since childhood. These regions are for emergencies, not for anger and stress.
That makes sense. So how do we eliminate stress in our lives?
Let's do an experiment. Take 100 people and put them in an MRI machine that will measure where their thoughts are coming from. Ask them one question. Don't think about yourself. If they do, the red light will go on.
What does this mean?
If you're thinking about yourself, then you're thinking from the cingulate brain region. It's a large region in the lower back part of the brain. It's the crocodile brain, used for instinctive reactions. If you're in a functional MRI machine and start thinking about yourself, this cingulate brain region starts to show up activity. I call it the stress center. And that's where stress causes those unhealthy outcomes.
Can people learn to stop thinking about themselves?
Yes, they can. It takes time. But after settling down, in a few minutes, people begin to think about themselves in this machine. They start thinking about a mistake they made yesterday. They get upset with themselves. The red light goes on. They learn to turn it off by stop thinking this way and change to being kind to themselves. Self-compassion. Soon they start comparing themselves to someone else who is successful, making them upset again, turning on that red light. The light goes off as they change thoughts to positive thinking about their own successes. Then they start thinking about being jealous at someone at work, someone who is lazy and not doing their work and gets away with anything. These thoughts turn into thoughts of retaliation and revenge, bringing that red light flashing furiously. This takes longer to turn off, but they do this by thinking about being creative, giving help to someone, or starting a new project.
What happens after the experiment is finished?
Let's check in on them 3 months later. They are healthier with improved blood pressure and other health measurements. They're more productive and more innovative and creative. They are better friends and better citizens.
That sounds amazing. Why is this called the stress center?
This experiment shows the benefits of eliminating stress. That stress, that comes from that cingulate region. So I call this the stress center, because if you can stop thinking from this region, you won't have stress. We talked earlier about stress causing health problems such as inflammation, shutting down the immune system, and decreases performance and innovation. If people can stop thinking about themselves, they'll be healthier, more productive, more creative, and better friends and citizens.
This makes sense. How can people apply this information to eliminate stress?
Do what the 100 people did. Learn to bypass the stress center. Think from the heart with kindness and giving, or from the mind with creativity. Be kind to yourself with self-compassion. Give your energy and give your help. Be creative, explore solutions to problems, create a project or a business to improve people's lives, create a way to help someone. After a while, bypassing that stress center will become a conditioned response. If you never think from the stress center, then you will have zero stress level. This is much better than someone you stop in the street who right now has an average stress level of 4.5 out of 10. This is very unhealthy and not enjoyable. Stay out of that stress center for improved health and enjoyment.
Would you give some examples?
Say you have a money problem. You either need to make more money or you need to cut expenses. This is stressful. And when you begin thinking about this problem, acknowledge the thought and immediately start thinking from the heart or the mind about creating a solution. If you start comparing yourself to someone else who seems so successful, acknowledge the thought and immediately start thinking from the heart with kindness for yourself. And finally, if you start thinking about your mean boss or co-workers, acknowledge the thought and think from the heart. For a mean boss, you can also use the 14-day neural pathway bypass technique, which does the same thing.
Eliminate stress by staying out of your brain stress center. Think from the heart with kindness and giving, and from the mind for creativity. Do you have any closing comments?
Know who you are moment by moment. This means know where you're thinking from, and that's who you are. Bypass unhealthy thinking from the stress center and think from the heart with feelings of kindness, empathy, and giving. Think from the mind for creativity. Thinking from the stress center is unhealthy, unproductive, and not enjoyable. Thinking from the heart and the mind is healthy and feels great.
This is Joan Epler and Dr. Gary Epler closing today's segment. Next time, we'll talk about trust.